So, I thought you wanna become a 500 IQ big brain giga chat NIKKE player like me, but don't know where to start. You just know there's something you're doing wrong or just something you could do better, but can't really put your finger on it. Then this is the perfect video for you, because today I'm gonna give you some tips that range from tips for beginner players to more helpful tips for more experienced players. So yeah, make sure to watch till the end, maybe there's something that you could use. Oh yeah, and sorry for my lack of uploads recently, I've just been too busy playing RimWorld. But no, seriously, I've just been a bit busy studying for school and all that, and will likely be going back to more regular uploads, so don't forget to like and subscribe to not miss out on future videos. I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, now that I'm done yapping, let's get on with the first tip, which might also be the most important one. Which is always try your best to keep up with the story, or at least try to do so. Okay, I've been guilty of not doing that myself for quite a while, not really knowing how insanely important it is to not fall behind in story. Because there's this funny little feature which many people are forgetting about, which is called Outpost Defense. So yeah, those 5 stages you do in story aren't just for those 100 gems. It will also give you a bonus level on your Outpost Defense, increasing the XP, Coredust and the equipment that you get from there. So basically, by not being caught up with the story, you're automatically slowing down your main way of progression, because keep in mind, NIKKE is almost a full AFK game, where it's basically time based on how far you are in the game. And with the Outpost Defense being like one of your best ways to get EXP and Coredust, you're basically just losing out if you're not caught up, or at least not going as fast as you can. Also as well, there being always a risk that someone is gonna spoil the story for you, which kinda sucks because that happened to me. It might not always be with like malicious intent, but it still always sucks if you get spoiled, in my opinion at least. So yeah, I went to doing every chapter as soon as they drop, kinda. So that doesn't happen again. Now, this is a tip for newer players, especially those below level 200. Keep your Coredust. You just likely aren't able to comprehend how much of that stuff you will need after you reach level 200. Like, just make sure that your cases are nice and closed, like your chances on getting maiden ice rolls. But like I said before, you will need tons of that stuff, like starting at level 200 you will need 10,000 per level, and it will only go up the further you go. But since Coredust cases scale with your outpost level, and if you listen to my first tip, you will have likely gotten a pretty high level now. It is definitely recommended to not use them straight away, but instead save them until you actually need them. Like, don't just use them to get past like a boss or something you're stuck on if you can just wait another day or two to beat them. Wait to open them until you're actually stuck, like for example a mother whale. Okay, the same tip for tip 1 also goes for the Tribe Tower. The Tribe Tower always rotates in and out, and you don't want to fall behind on that because a lot of people barely are able to catch up with it anymore. Once a week I think you only get 6 attempts to be able to go onto a floor because they rotate in and out like I said. So if you have the opportunity to beat a floor too, then do that. Because it's by far one of the best methods to get gems in NIKKE. Like, just so you understand, you are getting about 6,000 gems every 100 floors. And that also includes a lot of other stuff like manufacturer moles, which can have insanely good NIKKE, Coredust, XP and all that. But still, in my opinion, the manufacturer mold should be guaranteed. Like, it is already the best way to get Pilgrim NIKKE, but still, it sucks to lose a 50-50. Next up are some basic banner tips, and ways to save gems to get the NIKKE that you want. In my opinion, the most important factor of this is getting rid of the fear to miss out. That's at least the basics. If you don't get a character from a banner, 9 out of 10 times you'll probably get them later on, because they will likely be added to the standard pool anyways. Generally what I recommend to my friends is to only pull characters they either really want or that are just limited or straight up broken, like for example Cinderella. Most NIKKE that aren't limited will likely be added to the standard pool anyways, where you can wishlist them and pull them later on with a pretty high chance to get them there. As well as those characters also being added to the mold pool, which means you could pull them out of an SSR mold or an SR mold or any other mold honestly. I did that with my Blank after I couldn't get her out of the 777 banner, and now I have her at core 1, so you'll likely be getting that character that you're missing out on anyways. So I really don't recommend pulling any character that will be added to the standard pool later on. This doesn't apply for Pilgrim NIKKE in my opinion, who will be added to the standard pool, but are still worth pulling for. Because you can't really wishlist those and it's completely random if you get them or not. as well as the summer and winter NIKKE, for example, which are only available during those times and won't be added to the standard pool, but they also aren't really limited because they will likely reappear the next year again. Like, look at Summer Anise or Winter Ludmilla. That kind of mindset helps you save up for banners that you actually wanna pull on, for example the Pilgrim banner that I mentioned. Because like I said, 9 out of 10 times you're gonna get the NIKKE anyways, even if you don't pull for her on her banner. And trust me, even if you only do like 30 pulls banner, that's already a lot of gems saved up for a banner that might actually be interesting to you. For example, the collab banners, they will only really appear once and after that they won't get rerun again. So, if you get unlucky on those, there's only really one method to salvage this. But honestly, pull whoever you like and don't let anyone tell you who's good or who's not good, if you don't wanna hear it. Okay, do not underestimate Alice's Diary. Back when I started, we had a day-by-day thing where you were able to get Privity in the end, but that got replaced by Alice's Diary, which in my opinion is a huge improvement. And Alice being Alice makes it definitely worth grinding out as fast as possible because she is a powerhouse, especially if you pair her with newer NIKKE like Grave, which combines super well with her, and make her already broken kit even more broken basically. And Alice is without a doubt one of the strongest DPS in the game for not being a pilgrim. She at least is stronger than most pilgrims in the game even, because fire and pierce is just a broken combination. I mean, look at Red Hood, one of the strongest NIKKE in the game. She pairs insanely well with Alice just because they have such a similar kit. So getting Alice pretty early on is basically a huge game changer in my opinion, because you will not need another DPS until you get to like the harder levels where element actually matters. As well as the other rewards being kinda nice, which are a few standard vouchers and all that, which you can easily get by doing some simple tasks. So, a big one that I'm still getting DMs about, the 160 wall and how do you pass it? The short answer is RNG. The long answer? Get 5 NIKKE to max limit break, so pull 4 copies of them each. So yeah, it's literally just RNG. But there are some methods that make this process a lot easier and less painful, which I'll talk about now. Most importantly, I recommend you save the spare body selection boxes that you get from completing story missions for the last max limit break that you need. I would definitely recommend you do the same for the standard mileage that you get over time. Trust me, there's nothing worse than only missing one max limit break and just having to rely on pure RNG to get that one. As a visual example, you already have 4 max limit break NIKKE and are only missing 1. And your diesel is only 1 copy away from being a max limit break. Once you're at that point, instead of praying to RNGs, you can just purchase the last few copies that you need or the last copy that you need from either the shop or use one of the boxes that you saved up. That basically spares you from the most painful part of getting that exact NIKKE from a huge pool of NIKKE to finally break the 160 wall. And if you already saved up enough selection boxes and mileage to buy even more NIKKE, that's even better, then you likely won't have any issues at all with the 160 wall. That's at least how I did it, and probably most people that didn't have any issues with the 160 wall would recommend you to do. Another useful thing is to just simply add the NIKKE that you already have a decent limit break onto your wishlist. Even if they're absolute garbage and you'll probably never use them and hate getting them. Because no matter how overpowered the NIKKE are that you're getting from the banner, you will still be soft-locked if you can't get past level 160. Oh yeah, and the recent anniversary that we had also helped a lot of newer people with giving us basically a free max limit break SSR. So if Rapunzel was the NIKKE that broke the 160 wall for you, congratulations. But NIKKE does this thing every anniversary, even half anniversary, where they give away a max limit break NIKKE. Which also helped me back then with, I think it was Ray? I don't really remember, but it did help out a lot of people and it likely will help out a lot more in the future. But yeah, to sum it up, 160 wall is pure RNG hell. And if you're currently stuck there, I'm sorry, but you will get past this soon, and we all pray for you. Next up, some basic tips on how to get more combat power, and no, I will indeed not abbreviate it, like some other NIKKE players like to do. The fastest and most simple way to get more combat power, as you might have guessed, is to level up your NIKKE. But if you ask any high rank player, they will likely tell you that it only makes up about like half the total combat power of a NIKKE. Also important factors are the collection items, the attraction rank, the limit break or rather cause, all of which being a huge increase to a NIKKE's combat power and general stats. Also important to know are the cube upgrades for NIKKE as well as leveling up their skills, and in my opinion most importantly is the gear, or rather said the overload gear. And for those people who don't know what overload gear is, which there's likely a lot of you out there, It's basically tier 9 manufacturer gear, which looks like this. Basically, if you put it onto the right NIKKE and then level it up to the max, you will be able to overload it, giving it a huge amount of stat bonuses, which some people that are more keen to gacha would call substats. These substats can give a NIKKE a huge combat power increase and in general just better stats, for example more charge damage, more charge speed, more defense, more attack, more elemental damage and all that. As well as you being able to upgrade the part another 5 levels, increasing the combat power of your NIKKE even more. And who would have thought it's also RNG what stats you're getting. But at least you can reroll those stats with these funny blue crystal things, which are basically only used for overloading purposes. But like Coredust, once you start using it, you will never have enough to really fulfill your desires. Most of you probably already know like the basics of team building in NIKKE. Burst numbers and cooldowns, not putting Privity and Noir on the same team, etc. But here are some more useful tips on how you can improve your team and make them viable for later game content. In my opinion, most importantly, always have a healer on you, because a lot of the bosses have unblockable attacks or rather undodgeable. And you will be taking a lot of damage later on, and you will have to heal that back. Unless your combat power is high enough that you are not really taking damage anymore, then if so, what are you doing? Go back to step 1 and actually catch up on the story. Also, there's this funny thing called elemental damage, and it basically makes your NIKKE deal a lot more damage to enemies that have the opposing element. But that also goes the other way around. If you have a NIKKE on your team that takes a lot more damage from these raptures, you will, like I said, take a lot more damage and deal a lot less back in return. Through overloading and I think some other things like cubes, you can increase that elemental damage that you deal. But yeah, that effect really becomes obvious in a new anomaly interception, where it basically is mandatory to have the right elemental teams. So in case you have one solid team and think that's enough to beat the entire game, yeah, I'm sorry to tell you, but it won't be that way. For example, there's Solo Raid, where it's basically mandatory to have 5 teams as well as just having some build NIKKE on standby that you can swap out for elemental stuff for some other shenanigans. But yeah, that really becomes mandatory in Anomaly Interception, where I used to have Naga on my team, but instantly got bodied because she was an Electro type, but since I replaced her with another healer, I mean Rapunzel, I get bodied too, but at least a bit slower. So another more personal tip coming from me is to not skip the story. If you really like the characters in the game, I definitely do not recommend it. When I started playing, I thought, ah yes, funny anime game, I want to see Booba. But after a few chapters I started actually reading the story and started enjoying it, but also regretted having skipped the first few chapters, so I decided to redo them on another account. The same thing goes for some events or character interactions in general. But generally said, if you want to play NIKKE for a longer time, don't skip the story. NIKKE's fighting is amazing in my opinion for a gacha game, and the further you progress into the story, the better it gets. That improvement can also be seen on more recent events like the anniversary event, which had a lot of love and attention to detail put into it. This also goes for the newer chapters as well, which I won't spoil for you. There are some events that are just simply worse and actually worth skipping, but others that are actually cool, and to see your characters interact and all that is pretty nice. I mean, NIKKE is a story game after all, and skipping the story, at least the main one, is taking away half the fun in my opinion. So at that point you might as well just play Coredust 2 instead, that's also a cool game. Okay, lastly, if you're that kind of person like me who loves just talking to others and talking about the game, theorizing, sharing moments, etc. So if you're that kind of person, I really recommend you find some people or something to talk about the game with. It makes it a lot more fun to just talk to people in my opinion. Which is why I recently made a Discord, which the link is in the description by the way. So yeah, feel free to join if you just wanna talk or ask for help, or in general just need advice, or wanna be part of a community. But besides that, there's also a lot of other communities that you can be a part of and just join. And you will likely be able to find one that suits you and resonates with you and that you can share memories with. That's only like a personal opinion, but I really enjoy it at least. And talking about the game is also what kinda got me back into NIKKE and motivates me to just play the game again. As well as just talking about teams and asking questions is just really helpful and makes the game a lot more enjoyable. And with that I want to thank you for watching. If you want to join the Discord, it's in the description, and if you have any feedback, let me know in the comments, because I enjoy reading all the comments and the feedback that you guys give me. And I seriously hope that I helped at least a few out of you who kinda felt stuck with the game or didn't know what to do, or maybe you're just here to hear someone talk about the game for a few minutes. So yeah, like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I really hope you have a nice day.